Okay, we're back. I just sanded a little bit of a joining angle between the two wing halves, and we'll now begin joining the wing halves with some dihedral already set in. I've got a 2.5 centimeter block under the wingtip of one of the wings, and the other wing will lay flat on the workbench. Since the last wing failed at the point where these two carbon rods joined, I will be reinforcing that spot. They didn't overlap in the original version, and I thought I could just reinforce it with some epoxy and some glass fiber, but clearly that wasn't enough. So I will now be adding two extra 8 centimeter long carbon rods in here, and I will be putting some 250 gram per square meter carbon tape over the middle, and then surely the wing won't come off. So we'll start cutting out slots for these carbon rods right now. These are 3mm thick rods, so we should draw out 4 centimeters on each side and 3mm wide. Let's do it. I will first cut out this one to see if the rod will fit, and then if it works I will do the other ones in time lapse. Should be fine. Just do the same cut and dig out method we used for the spar itself, and start digging. You will need to dig out some of the epoxy right here, which could be difficult, but you can just cut it away if you haven't let it cure for more than 2 days. After that it might become a bit difficult. Okay, it fits at this side right now. So next we'll do the other one, and then we will do the second joiner. So I will just time lapse this part of the build. You should get the gist of it. Cut into my spar a little bit, so I'll pour some CA in there in order to fix it. It's not a big cut, but just to make sure, I'll do that. We're done making the holes for the wing joiners, so I will mix up some epoxy and then we'll come back and join the wing halves together. Let's go. We're back. I'm almost done mixing up some epoxy, and we'll just join these wing halves together. That way we can lay down the carbon tape near the root after this, and then we'll glass the top of the wing, but we'll do that later today. First we need to glue in these reinforcements, so this damn wing won't fail again. I want it to be as strong as it can be. Okay, I found out that this particular batch of Depron will handle this particular normal CA pretty well, so I will just tack the wing halves together with some CA at the root. That way it won't shift around as we're working on it. Let's just do that. So I'll join these together. Not right. I spilled some CA, so let's move it over here. So about right here it should be joined, and that fits perfectly. So keep the one block under there. Now let's start joining them. Take your 8 centimeter long 3mm carbon rod and just check if it fits in there, which it does. but should go down in there a bit lower. So I'll press some of the material away right here. And then we just glue it in there. So take out your resin and start filling the gap. Make sure the wing halves stay together. Fill the whole slot up with resin. Oh, hang on. I might need to put some mylar under here. Oh, that might be a smart idea. I'll come back after I get some mylar. So I got the mylar. Let's try this again. This way the wing won't stick to the newspaper, because you'll have to try and get it off otherwise, and that's not really nice to do. So we just put the wing on some mylar, join the halves together again, and now we can start by filling the slots again. Just get the epoxy in there. You can wipe off any excess epoxy later, so fill it up nicely. Still need to join this a bit better. Right. This half needs to be tacked down. Yep, that works. I'll fill the other slots now. More epoxy. Extra step means that we'll have to let the whole wing cure for another half day or full day. So the build process is lengthened a bit, but it will become much stronger this way. Now push that rod in there as low as it will go. Keep the wing halves together. And after we do this, I'll put something heavy on it again, and then it will stay down in there really nicely. Put this one in here. Works. I'll cut off some of the mylar so I can lay it over top. And we will fill the small gap between the wing at some points with some extra epoxy. No problem at all. I've used the same method on some other fast planes for some of my friends, and it worked quite well, so I doubt this new wing will break, especially with the carbon tape I will be putting over top. Okay, take some paper, wipe off the excess epoxy. You won't want epoxy everywhere. Push the wing halves together once more. Get something heavy, put it on both sides to really stick it down. Now we take the paper one last time, wipe off the excess on top, push this down in there, make sure there's enough epoxy between the joints, push, lay some mylar over top it. And now try to fit something heavy on the middle of the joint. So both wing halves are pushed down right now. I'll push them together one final time. And then we'll let this set for about half a day or another day, and then we'll come back later to put some carbon tape over the joint. That way it will be even stronger, as if we needed more strength, but it won't hurt, at least. Okay, we're back. It's one day later and the wing has cured nicely. Here's the wing joint in the middle, and I planned to put some carbon tape over this, some really heavy stuff like 250 grams per square meter, but this joint is already so strong I can't even bend it, so I thought that would be a bit overkill to put the carbon tape on there, since it will add more than 5 grams of weight. So I'll just use some relatively heavy glass fiber. This is 80 grams, and I'll glass that over there in order to keep the rods secure. And that way we should have a really strong wing joint, which won't fail anymore. Okay, now here's how I glass this stuff on there. Just rub some resin on there from the inside out and start wetting the glass, and rub it all the way out to the edge, and then you should also wet the glass over the edge a little bit. That way it will stick to the newspaper I'm working on, and then it will nicely stick to the edges of the wing, instead of needing a vacuum bag for this. This glass has some jagged edges here, so I won't be glassing that part, so I can easily sand that off later. Alright, this has all been spread out nicely. Now I'll get some paper towel, which I don't have right here, and then we'll blot off the excess glass. Hang on. Got the paper towel. Now we just gently rub off the excess epoxy from the inside out, just like when spreading the epoxy. Just continue doing this for a while until you aren't rubbing off any more epoxy. Okay, there isn't much more epoxy coming off, so we're pretty much done here. This 80 gram glass fiber is really rough weave, so this is more like a sort of shear web than a true wing skin. It's really rough, so we'll be glassing over that with the fine 50 gram glass later. We'll just let this set up until it's tacky, and then we'll get to glassing the rest of the top of the wing. And with this glass over the top and the bottom, this should become a nearly indestructible wing root. I have 3 carbon rods next to each other. You ain't breaking that. So let this set up, and then we'll come back for the glassing of the rest of the wing. Okay, there. It's the end of the evening. The same day I glassed the middle of the wing with 80 gram glass. I did not enjoy working with the 80 gram stuff at all. It's really loosely woven thick thread glass fiber, and it just doesn't give nice results. It isn't very even. Luckily we'll be glassing over that portion of the wing, so that's no trouble, but I genuinely did not enjoy using it, so I'll use 50 gram wherever I can, because that's a lot nicer to work with. We'll now be glassing the wingtips for extra strength. I need to cut 2 strips about the same size. So just take a piece of glass cloth and cut it right through the middle. So you have two evenly sized pieces of cloth, and you just lay that over the wingtip this way, and the same for the other tip. I'll show you how I do this wingtip. I hope you can see it. Hang on. Okay, this should be visible. You take your epoxy, and just like with the middle of the wing, you start smearing it out on top of there, and you work from the inside out. So you start smearing it on here, and then over the edge. Get it all nice and wet. Everything needs to be wet at the same amount. The glass will become completely transparent when it has enough epoxy in it. So just watch for that, and then you know you have enough on there. I'll do the rest of the wing to make sure to get some extra epoxy over the edge of the wing. That way it will stick to the trailing edge a bit better. Same for the leading edge. Just nicely spread it out. Make sure not to get any air pockets in there. You really don't want to have any of those. It will compromise the strength a lot. Last bit right here. Now we start working on it in order to get it completely flat. Just rub it out, rub any air pockets out. Seems to be working rather well. Now you get a piece of paper towel right here. You wipe off the excess epoxy once again. You don't need to completely soak it in epoxy. That mainly helps when you want to get a really flat shiny finish, but since this is a layer underneath the final finish layer of the wing, I don't really care about that, so I want it to be as light as possible, and if it's a bit rough, then the next layer of glass fiber will also adhere to this layer a little bit better. Still a lot of epoxy coming off, so just keep wiping it down. Getting rid of all the excess. Make sure the glass curves down the edge of your wing nicely. And since this isn't the final layer, I won't be too precise with the edges. I won't be using the newspaper method to stick the edges down. And you can see right here it has curved over the edge pretty nicely, and that should do it for now. Now I'll do the other wingtip, and then I'll check them both. Take your piece of glass fiber, lay it over there, get out the epoxy, and start working. Same process. Nice. So now both wingtips are pretty much done. You can just leave those to cure overnight or for a day, however you want it. And then we should be set to start glossing the top of the wing. No work on the bottom yet though. I'll smooth out the glass fiber a bit more here and there, but it should be